Hi everybody and welcome to Alex I React. Today I'm gonna react to a video called the Brony Chronicle. The Brony Chronicle Part 2. The reason why I didn't react to the first one is because I already seen it. Maybe in the future I'll do a let's watch, but for now I really want to see the Part 2 because if I remember well, in the end of the first part, he said that in the part 2 he's gonna talk about the artistic part of the fandom with the musician, artist and stuff. So I'm really excited to see what is gonna about what he's gonna talk, and maybe I'll learn a little bit more about the Brony fandom itself. So yeah, like Pinkie Pie said, enough chit chat, time is candy. Let's start this video in 3, 2, 1.
In part 1 of this documentary, we took an in-depth look into the origins of the My Little Pony franchise. We established when it was created and who it was intended for. Little girls. That remained to be the case for well over 20 years, but in 2010, things were about to change. Lauren Faust was given creative stewardship from Hasbro to create the 4th generation of the animated series. Instead of pumping out a generic cartoon that would serve the purpose of selling toys, Lauren went one step further. She recruited a team that desired to make a show that any person of any age could enjoy. And that caught the attention of an unlikely group of fans.
Bronies.
Bronies are older male fans of the show My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. And they contradict gender roles to the utmost degree. Why would these boys and men watch a show that is widely known to be for young females? Well, that goes back to Lauren Faust and her team. They accomplished their goal and created something that, despite its outer appearances, was at its core good, and a fandom formed around it.
Damn good.
In part 2 of this documentary, we are going to take a closer look at both the creative-driven side of this unusual community and also see what mainstream society thinks of these bizarre fans. Through interviews and research, we hope to address all of the hard questions and uncover the answers we seek so we can show you all the truth behind Bronies. This is their journey. This is their story.
Awesome. Oh, that intro. That intro. I love that intro. So, good music, good artwork, good visual. Awesome. I mean, that kind of intro really show how inspired people are by this show, you know? Sorry, that song made me want to dance. Ah! Oh, awesome. Awesome intro. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. How long it is? Maybe an hour. Maybe I will have to cut at some part because my camera is not made to record more than 1 hour. So maybe in 45 minutes I will have to cut and come back. So yeah, sorry about that in advance.
When the Brony fandom first emerged, it came as a shock to many. Why would older guys like a cartoon about colorful ponies who drink tea and have fashion shows? Where is the appeal in that? Why would a male enjoy any of this besides being
best tattoo ever?
That was the initial response for most people. as they found the entire situation to be extremely strange.
I had sort of misunderstood them. I thought they were just another fandom. You know, I didn't pass them off as, you know, weirdos like most people do.
Good music.
I thought it was a bunch of weirdos, to be honest. I just didn't get it. I think probably a lot of people didn't get it who haven't really looked into it.
I thought they were the most obnoxious and irritating bunch of people on the internet.
Everybody's Twitter icons were changed into these tiny little colored equines, and I'm going, the f is this?
I didn't know what to think of them. I just didn't even know that bronies were a thing at that time, that it would even take off to be a fandom.
Everything I knew about fandoms came from Encyclopedia Dramatica, so I was kind of afraid of fandoms, to be perfectly honest.
Like, what's going on in here? I wanna kind of get what is this all about? But I didn't know I wanted to know it enough. I just thought that, oh, this looks like a bunch of guys just having fun.
These responses ranged from positive to negative, though most shared the common theme of being weirded out. And that made sense. Nothing about this ordeal was normal. Yet for most of these interviewees, they eventually came around and watched the show, and actually enjoyed it. Not only that, but they found themselves interacting with the fandom as well.
There's just such a mass amount of people with such talent, you know, in the Brony community. There's, you know, Brony musicians, and if you're
I
not
have
a Brony
more than
musician,
2,000
you're a Brony artist, and if you're not a Brony artist, you're a voice actor.
Pictures of My Pony.
I started looking into more about like what comes out of the fandom. What do we create? So we create. I've noticed so much music, art, videos, animations, so much stuff, and that's what I really like about the fandom is that
it's freaking awesome.
We create a lot of stuff.
Now that I'm so involved, you know, in this whole Brony thing, I mean, it's the sense of community that I've really come to admire with it. I mean, it's incredible. To me, it's all about collaboration, and I think that's what's really impressive, and that's collaboration between artists within the community and collaboration between the creators themselves and the consumers, us, the Bronies. I think that's something that I've really come to value, and I think that even goes beyond the show, that being a Brony isn't just about, you know, sitting down and enjoying ponies. It's, you know, it's expanded into so much more.
And that was something the Brony fandom was truly gifted in, creating content. It isn't rare to see people work as a group on the internet and pull their talents and resources together for a project. We've seen it before on YouTube, Newgrounds, and other websites. But the sheer amount of content that came from Bronies in such a brief period of time was remarkable. A community was eventually formed, and its lifeblood was creating and sharing content with one another. It basically became a friendly competition to see who could churn out the most impressive work. That became a big reason why the Brony phenomenon was spreading across the web at such a rapid pace. It was everywhere. DeviantArt,
and
Tumblr,
freaking awesome.
YouTube, forums and forums and forums. No one could escape it. For some, this drove them to hate My Little Pony and its overzealous fans, while others were more curious of the ordeal and decided to see what the fuss was all about. One thing led to another, and boom! Here's your plan.
Exhausted the episodes, and once I kind of was looking for more of this awesome new thing I'd fallen into, I wanted to kind of contribute myself.
I watched other people's PMVs, and I always loved the video aspect. And actually, I was kind of disappointed with the fandom at first because I went on to like certain websites that were dedicated to this fandom, and I would see tabs for like media. I'd see music, images, fan fiction, but I never saw anything for video or animation in general.
One of the first things that got me like acquainted with the whole thing were the parody trailers. That's how I got into it, and I was like, okay, I have some video editing experience, and I quite like doing it. I love the show. I love the episodes. So why not try my hand at this myself?
I became a Brony and had no intention of participating in the fandom other than watching the show and maybe just look on EQD. Because like it started like this really like spiral of getting addicted. It was like, all right, I'm just watching a show. All right, I'll just watch a show and doodle. All right, I'm gonna watch a show and doodle, but I'm not going on EQD. And then I was on EQD every day. I'm like, okay, but I'm not making a pony song. And then I was drawing myself as a pony. I'm like, this is impossible. And then it became, okay, like, I'm just keeping this to myself. And then it's like, okay, I'm going to do a 70-page book starring Scootaloo. Like, what?
I guess I was checking out things like Yardovich's channel and things like that when he was doing the Skyrim or something like that. And then he also did another one that was the AU sort of like Moonbase Alpha video that's become popular. And that's how a lot of people just like, oh, haha, you're like meshing these two things that I've seen. That's how I got into it. It was like, oh, well, I see these people editing things that were like totally juxtaposed to each other, and now they're putting them together, and I think this is fun, so why don't I get a try at it? Plus, I was like, at that point in my life, I felt like this is what I want to do as a profession. I want to either get into editing or something in post-production. So this was a good way of me getting into that and saying, oh, well, now I have an excuse to mash up these clips and things like that, and I have an excuse for why I'm editing and things like that. I was trying to justify why I was becoming a brony in my mind.
Every single member of the main six, and I could not do any of their voices for the life of me. It was like, oh, I'm never going to be able to, like, you know, do anything for it. Because I'm a parody writer and I'm a voice actress. So if I can't parody and I can't voice act, I'm out of luck. Luckily, Rob, he was a fan of Pokemon Bridged, actually, a series that I write. And he was like, oh, you're a brony, right? And he sent me the script for Epic Cupcake Time. And I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. You're doing this? And he's like, yep. I'm like,
I think I never seen Epic
And so when Epic
Cupcake
Pie Time came out, he sent me the script for that too, because he wanted, you know, my opinion on stuff. And I was like, wow, this is great, dude. I'll vinyl scratches in it, you know. She has a line, you know, you could throw it at me if you feel like it. And he was like, yeah. Actually, I think you would make a really good vinyl scratch. And I was like, oh, really? I was just throwing it. He's like, no. I want to make a line for you.
I saw a YouTube comment where someone had talked about My Little Remix. It immediately was like, there's a community for this. Like, I didn't realize up until that point that these people knew each other, that they talked to each other, that they exchanged, and like once I realized there was like this open flow of information between all the people I'd been listening to, I was like, that's something I need to be part of.
It was sort of just a random venture. I remember the episode that started it. It was the third episode of the second season, Lesson 0, and at towards the end, when Celestia is, you know, kind of admonishing Twilight Sparkle, you know, after she nearly destroys an entire town. Then her friends come in and they intercede, and then there is this moment when there's this serene melody that's played, and it involves this wonderful mode mixture with F minor, and I loved it. So I said, I'm going to sit down at piano and I'm going to improvise off that just for fun. And I ended up, you know, creating a piece that I thought was all right, submitted it to YouTube just for kicks, never really expected anything, and well, the rest, kind of history.
The content coming from these people got better and better. It even got to the point where, for some individuals, their work started to rival the quality of the show itself. These fans found their art and interaction with one another to be rewarding in all kinds of ways. They made new friends, discovered inner talents, and found an audience that truly appreciated their work.
Having the video come out and people not instantly hating it. I guess that's like right before we released the video, I'm like, oh, people are gonna hate this on this question. I always kind of doubt myself. It's like, maybe I shouldn't release this. Maybe we should go back and fix on it more. But like for one time, I was afraid that because it wasn't really a mealtime parody, it was just kind of like a musical parody. I was afraid that people were going to be like, where's all the food and stuff like that. But afterwards, like, you know what? I did this. We're all happy with it. We all want to release it. Let's just do it. And people really loved it.
I sure have a much larger fan base than I did before. I get a lot of very positive feedback and also a lot of honest critique, which I do appreciate. I appreciate both. I just love being able to talk to people, meet new people that honestly I would have never run into.
The community is really big, so there's a lot of people constantly inspiring you. Brony Dance Party stuff is really cool. I mean, there's a ton of people I could go on forever, but keep it short and sweet. Pixel Kitty is one of the first that I found, so like her stuff's always just been crazy.
I love getting to draw the poems. I think it's fun, it's enjoyable for me, just as an exercise or just to enjoy myself. Too. But the best part of being an artist in this community is this art community in itself. It's humbling, honestly, to be at a convention like this with so many incredibly talented people.
While being in the Brony the Brony community, people I've since learned about mixing, about compression, about mastering, about composition. You know, I've learned time signature changes, etc., and it's, you know, it's really, really nice because I've learned in the year and 2 months that I've been in this community more than I probably would have 10 years from now without.
I love being able to work with people. Collaborations are so much fun. It's just great to have that connection to other people who are able to do what I do, and who are interested in this type of thing.
Sometimes I get comments like, thanks for introducing me to the fandom. If it wasn't for this video, I wouldn't have become a part of it. Things like that, kind of give me my jollies or whatever like that. I find it not humbling, but it's like a nice feeling to just feel that like when you've impacted someone else with your work.
Now, many of you may be thinking,
I can relate to that.
Who cares about
you guys
any
are
of this?
awesome.
Aren't these just fans with an unhealthy obsession over something that isn't normal? That is a fair point to make. They are just fans, like any other group. But my question to you is this. What exactly is normal?
He's an angel! He's an angel, I swear to God! Oh my God!
Justin Bieber fan.
It's a Saber, baby! Isn't how we do it for the dog!
Well, put it that way, we're not that bad.
This is by far the happiest moment of my life. I love him so much. We're the most dedicated fandom in the whole wide world, and we dedicate our lives to him. And I just love this man.
Okay, that was creepy.
So yeah, what is normal? What is socially acceptable and what isn't? And who decides? Why are some pastimes widely celebrated while others are shot down? Is it a majority rule? Or do a few social elites control all the power? It's extremely hard to say since we're dealing with people. The answer is never black or white, as there are many shades of gray. Yep,
Got a point.
I have a fandom too. But let's stay focused on bronies for now. Bronies are weird when compared to other social groups. But why? For what reasons are they rejected by others? What have they done wrong in the eyes of society? Well, first off, there is the very subject of their admiration. Ponies. Little ponies. Little ponies who are pink and sometimes wear frilly dresses. As we explained in part 1, the outer appearance of the show is deceiving, and there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. There are fun and engaging stories, interesting characters, and it all takes place in a fantasy-filled world of dragons, monsters, and adventure. But for an outsider looking in, they are not going to see any of this. Instead, they are going to assume the worst. And can you really blame them? After 30 years of My Little Pony being exclusively for girls, it can be quite the shock to see older guys watch and like the show. Let's go ahead and point out the biggest issue with this situation.
This is interesting.
Gender roles. Gender roles are society's expectations of the proper behaviors, attitudes, and activities of males and females. Or in other words, how guys and girls are supposed to behave in front of others.
Okay.
For example, most people believe that men are the breadwinners and women stay home to take care of the family. Men are the doctors and women are the nurses. Men are the police, and women are the babysitters. These are traditional gender roles. Now, they aren't as prominent as they used to be, and progress has been made to break down these stereotypes. But they still do exist to a degree, and have a subtle grasp on modern society. This is the source of all the conflict between bronies and society. For the last 30 years, the MLP franchise has been intended for little girls. To have older guys like it, and in such a passionate way, is quite disturbing to the majority of others. Society has been taught that males participate in masculine activities, and females with feminine pastimes. To see a crossover between the two is bizarre, and doesn't make sense to mainstream culture. They don't see eye to eye with bronies, and why they like the show. What they see instead are a bunch of deviant freaks. Outside of gender, there is another large factor that disturbs society, and that is the age of bronies. As one grows up, they are supposed to put away childish things and move on. This is especially true for males. Yet here we have a bunch of older men who refuse to do that. Why aren't they watching football? Why aren't they tailgating?
Well, I do watch sports and stuff.
Adults only venture into the toy aisle or watch children cartoons
But anyway.
if they have a kid with them. Or so is the typical norm. Why would any well-respected grown male be caught dead enjoying something made for little girls. Now, to be fair, not everyone thinks this way and automatically shoots down fans like Bronies, but the majority of people do. Don't believe me? What do you think a mom with your young daughter would be pondering if they saw this at the toy aisle? Probably not the best, and most likely the worst. We're used to seeing such opposite worlds clash, and will often jump to conclusions on why guys like My Little Pony. But it's not just older guys who call themselves Bronies. There are a considerable amount of older females,
nice
children,
cosplay.
and even their parents who gladly participate in the fandom. Gender and age does not dictate on whether or not a person is a Brony. It's what made Brony stand out at first. But the fandom is full of many types of people now. So what makes a Brony? If anything, it is how invested an individual is into the show and the fandom surrounding it. Simple as that. Let's take Star Trek into consideration. Just because an individual watches that series does not make them into a diehard Trekkie. That all depends on how passionate they are about the show, and if they are willing to share it and express it with others.
At times I'm a Trekkie, and other times I'm a Trekker.
Every serious fan considers
I never thought it that way.
a Trekker.
Trekkie versus Trekker. I don't even know what that is. Trekkers seem to be like snobs. I'm not a Trekkie, I'm a Trekker.
Trekker sounds a little pretentious, but at least it's preferable.
Perhaps they keep it secret. There are a lot of hidden lifestyles that normal people don't want others to know about, in fear of being publicly rejected.
Why is it important that your identity not be revealed?
Because of the controversial nature, we're living in a culture that isn't as progressive, so it's important to avoid censure.
Bronies became a huge target, and it was only a matter of time before they received a backlash from mainstream media.
Bronies, another disturbing trend.
Yes.
Bronies are brothers in ponies. These are grown men who stay home from work and have now started filing for disability like
they compared us in
because
the
they love
with,
My Little Pony so much.
that show
and they're
that
like going to chat rooms and
with
discussing
a
My
guy
Little
that
Ponies,
is
like, you know, the subtext
kind of a
plots
big baby.
that now they cannot work
It's like-
because they've become obsessed with My Little Ponies.
Are you
We got nothing coming with that.
Those were indicators, but this phenomenon of Brony conventions, I think, clearly was foretold in the book of Revelation. This is it.
Fuck?
We are toast. It is over. Please get those pictures off of my show.
Bill, there are worse hobbies for a young lad to have.
In the book of Revelation, is he stupid?
50-50. Am I wrong?
Bronies? I don't know. That's on the edge, you know.
If somebody's a brony out there, write us a little comment on the Facebook wall and explain this, because we're kind of creeped out by you.
It takes a lot of people to make the world.
Indeed, it does.
Yes.
Look, I'm all about freedom to do what you want to do, and if these guys want to do that, that's fine. I do think that we are seeing signs all across the culture of not only of escapism from the realities of Barack Obama's economic America, but escapism from the entire idea of growing up, Steve. You know, the idea of that you would eventually put away things. I mean, more and more and more, you're running into guys 30 years old, 40 years old now, and they got little Star Wars figures in their cubes, and you know, there does come a time to, you know, to put away childish things and to kind of grow up.
It's cute for my 6-year-old daughter. It's just plain creepy on a man. Do you have a girlfriend? Do you still live at home? What's your story?
In a basement.
Many of these fans once shared the same opinions as these media outlets. They thought Bronies were weird, strange, and wrong. But due to their curiosity, they decided to take a closer look and eventually became fans of My Little Pony with wide eyes and a look of disbelief. These people today are still shocked to admit that they became a fan of the show.
If my past self could see my current self, it would run away screaming.
If we're talking about how 22-year-old me would feel about this, I'd probably be, yeah, all right, whatever.
Yeah, 5 years ago, I would be like,
If I explain it to myself, I'm sure I'd get it. 18-year-old me would probably be a little more skeptical. And 12-year-old me would be thinking, what the hell are you doing?
I'd say, what are you doing, you freaking moron?
Yeah, he will think, dude, what the hell? I will probably answer, what the hell is wrong with you? I'm your future self, so deal with it.
Just as confused as anybody else I talked to. Fan art and me just didn't click for so long, so I'd probably be like slapping my future self for doing what I'm doing. Old me wouldn't get it. You know, it's something you got to experience. That's why.
For me, I'd be like,
my
are you happy now?
Gotta watch it.
No?
My past self would be
in the future
laughing
you're
at me,
happy. So
because my past
deal with
self
it.
was very self-centered and young and didn't get it, right? We all didn't get it when we were young. Now that I'm older, I can see that, you know, what I like or what I watch on TV or things like that don't really matter in the great scheme of the universe, right? Doesn't really matter.
My past self would probably think that I turned gay. And I'm not a homophobe. Not anymore. I was then. I think my past self would be a little confused as to my liking of the show, but at the same time, I think I'd be really excited because I'm doing now what I always wanted to do when I was younger. That was writing orchestral music and doing digital art. That was a big deal for me back in the day. And I had been working at it for years and years and years to ever even come close to what I'm doing. I think I might be tremendously confused, but also mostly happy for myself.
For some, it was easy to admit to liking the show. For others, it was hard. They did not want to be singled out for enjoying something that is largely frowned upon by their peers.
Compared to a lot of people, I sort of had it really easy because like I had the luxury of parents who really just don't care because A, I'm in my 20s and have a full-time job and a college degree already, so they don't have to worry about me like not getting a job and not continuing my education. And I also have a girlfriend, so I don't have to feel like I'm being really insecure about who I am and where I'm going. So I mean, it was really just natural. It's like, oh, a show about ponies. All right, that's cool.
I used to think that gender roles were a big deal. I didn't realize that it had anything to do with what society imposed onto people. I just didn't really know what people would think of me, specifically my older brother. He was always making snide comments about the sort of things that I choose to watch, the kind of things I play. I was, hiding it from him. But my oldest brother ended up watching the show around the same time that I did. My dad. So we all just ended up kind of converging and then finally finding out, oh, hey, you watch it too. That's kind of creepy. That's also kind of awesome.
As I already stated, mainstream media really gave Bronies a beating. And one glaring issue that stood out to them was
guys who are really into My Little Pony in the sense that they're turned on by the ponies, the comic ponies.
Yeah, this is a thing.
He's going there.
Hard to explain without being graphic. For the sake of keeping this documentary PG, I'm gonna keep this brief. Basically, some fans of My Little Pony like to sexualize the characters from the show. Why do they do this? It's most likely just a fetish they enjoy. Simple as that. Yet society is quick to assume that every MLP fan is a
I have no
sexual
hate
diva.
towards
Why else would they
toppers,
be
by the
into
way.
ponies, right?
I
This
understand why
assumption
they
has
would
left a
like it,
devastating
but
impact on the
not
image
for me.
of Brony.
Not personally,
And
I don't
only
like that
worsens
kind of stuff.
the already negative stereotype. Despite being dealt a bad hand by mainstream media, it's not impossible to change how society looks upon Bronies. One, if not the most positive trait about this fandom, is its charity work. From donating money to support clinics in Uganda, to raising thousands of dollars for the Children's Cancer Association, many Bronies are active when it comes to giving money to those who need it. There are
Awesome.
dozens of charity organizations, and they have raised money for scholarships, blood drives, Toys for Tots, and the list goes on and on. Groups such as Bronies for Good and the Brony Thank You Fund organize charity drives on a regular basis and continue to help those in need. But why do My Little Pony fans do this? Perhaps Bronies take this show and its lessons to heart and want to practice what they preach, being love and tolerance. A strange source of inspiration, but you can't argue with the overwhelming results. These people have done good and stand as a positive image of the Brony fandom for the rest of the world to see.
Yeah, it's easy to look at the bad sides of everyone and everything.
My Little Pony fans
But
are
when you look at the good stuff,
socially inept and sensitive wussies.
he's overcome the
That they are
bad.
soft behind the ears and are not true men. Well, this may come as a surprise to you, but there are a decent amount of servicemen who openly watch and celebrate the show. It's hard enough to
Oh,
envision
yeah.
guys watching My Little Pony, but military members too? Why would these roughnecks give this show the light of day? Simply put, they enjoy it like any other fan would. It just so happens that they work in the military too. This goes to show that the Brony stereotype, just like any other stereotype, is a grand assumption society is used to deciphering the merit of a person by their image alone. But that never tells the full story. Military fans are a testament to that, and prove that masculinity and being feminine can share a common middle ground. When it comes to improving the image of a group, it doesn't hurt to gain some credibility from those who already have a widespread reputation, namely celebrities. Now, this can work both ways, where a celeb can make a group look really good or really bad. But Bronies have been lucky enough to have some famous folk give them some positive feedback. Gabe Newman, co-founder and managing director of Valve Corporation, has stated on a show that he secretly geeks out over My Little Pony and watches the cartoon.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Secretly geek out about.
I watch My Little Pony.
You're a Brony.
Yep.
Marcus Percy,
What?
otherwise
Awesome.
and the creator of Minecraft, has said during an interview that he enjoys My Little Pony, though he wouldn't call
Damn.
himself a Brony. But he added that this is the kind of cartoon that he would want his kids to watch if he ever had children.
I try to claim I don't like the new My Little Pony show, but I secretly kind of do. I mean, because
you are a Brony.
Not really, but it's kind of. Yes. It's kind of, I just realized, like, if I have children, that's the kind of show I'd love to share with them.
Anthony Bourdain, a culinary pro who is the host of the Travel Channel's programs No Reservations and The Layover, spoke up about a year ago and claimed that he was a big fan of My Little Pony. Needless to say, it was quite ironic, since this is a guy who has tasted pony before.
Oh, Rainbow Dash, look at you now.
What? That's kind of, yeah, that's really kind of ironic.
Back in September of 2011, another celebrity popped up on the Brony roster, and it was through a special
John
appearance on
Delancey.
the show itself, John Delancey. He was the voice of a new villain that went by the name of Discord, and he quickly became a fan favorite. John has already had his fair share of bizarre fandoms, since he played the character known as Q from Star Trek. Yet when emails from Bronies started to pour into his mailbox, he was receptive and open-minded. This led to the eventual creation of a Brony documentary.
Oh yeah, I made a reaction to that documentary.
He hoped that the world can view MLP fans in a more positive light, since most mainstream media outlets have failed to do so. But out of all the confirmed celebrities who have said that they enjoy My Little Pony, none were as shocking as Andrew WK. Andrew is a hardcore rock and roll musician who takes partying very seriously. So imagine the surprise on everyone's face when he proudly declared his love for My Little Pony. He stated in a podcast how he enjoyed the fact that guys can dig this show and create diversity.
Well, there's metal music in the
Andrew
fandom.
completely identified with the character of Pinkie Pie, who loves to party too. That pretty much sums up all the confirmed celebrities. Though there are rumors of others who watch the show. Weird Al, the
Yeah,
infamous
was about to
parody
talk about
musician
that.
who is known for hits such as Eat It, White and Nerdy, and Amish Paradise, recently made an appearance on the show as a character of Cheese Sandwich. Many Bronies enjoyed his guest performance, but unlike John Delancey, Weird Al did not get involved with the fandom. He recorded his lines for the episode and moved on with his own projects. Another person who was thought to be a Brony was Stephen Colbert.
Thank you so much, everybody. I want to give a big shout out here, out there, to all my Bronies who may be watching.
But this was a misunderstanding that he fully admits to.
Good to have you with us. I want to very specifically not give a shout out to my Bronies tonight. I feel like I've been sucked into a dark corner of humanity. I'm crawling my way back toward the light.
For the celebrities who watched the show, they were able to help the Brony image. It makes a person think, if this celeb I like actually enjoys the cartoon, maybe it's not so bad after all. Every bit helps.
And I heard that,
And it gives
I don't know
Bronies
for
more
sure, but
positive
Hulk
image in
Hogan
the eyes of
apparently is
mainstream
one.
society. We have been going
I don't
on
know.
for a while.
I'm not sure.
about how bronies can possibly change the way people view their group and help them see the bright side of their fandom. But bronies aren't the only ones who have had it bad when it comes to social criticism. Many other groups of fans went through the same growing pains, but were able to prevail. But how? How were they able to change the way others think of them? Well, let's take a look at a few. One of the largest and strongest genres of geek culture is science fiction. It encompasses hundreds of franchises, and many of them have become very popular within mainstream society. Remember Star Trek? Back in the late 1960s, this series made quite the splash and gave birth to a very dedicated group of fans called Trekkies.
They got together with about 35 or 40 or 50, the way I heard this story, of fans of Star Trek.
Sorry guys, just 1 second, I come back right now. Hey, I'm back. Let's continue.
Just wanted to get together and talk about the show, which they did.
And I thought, they're inviting me to New York? They said they're willing to pay expenses and, you know, fly me there and put me up in a hotel. I thought, these people are foolish.
And there was something like, I think there were around 3,000 or 4,000 people showed up. And it was absolutely wild then.
The din out there indicated there was more than 30 people. The woman went on stage and introduced me, and I stepped out, and the place exploded in applause.
And then they were hanging out of the balcony. It was like a bunch of overage Beatles for us, you know, of me being there.
These guys took the term fan to an entirely new level. They dressed like the characters, they acted like the characters, they knew all the trivia, and some even spoke in Klingon. Trekkies were notoriously known for their religious-like fervor. It even got to the point where some of the cast members from the show had to back off because the fans were growing too attached.
I was walking down the street in New York, and I caught somebody coming towards me. He said, "Are you Q?" I said, "Yeah. Can you bring people back from the dead?" And I went, "Only people I like." He goes, "Cool," and walked on.
There was a fan who,
okay, I thought it would turn worse.
Doing, who I was with, and pulled out a box that had a hypodermic in it, and asked Jimmy if he could get a sample of his blood. 20 years later, he was at a convention in New York, and the same young man came up to him with the same box with the same hypodermic and said, "Mr. Doohan, can I get a sample of your blood?" He was still doing the same thing 20 years later.
Star Trek was a success, and the franchise did fine. But Trekkies themselves were looked upon as fanatics who took their obsession too far. And so, a stereotype was born. But over time, this changed. With the arrival of other sci-fi franchises, like Star Wars, people were becoming more interested in the genre and accepting of others who would identify as sci-fi geeks and nerds. The exact same thing happened with comic book fans. They were picked on for liking superheroes, but now some of the most profitable movies of all time feature these characters. And it doesn't stop there. Back in the 1970s, a convention called San Diego Comic-Con was established with the intent of bridging the gap between comic book fans and comic book writers and artists. A place where comic enthusiasts could meet and enjoy their shared passion. The first event only had roughly around 300 attendees. Today, it has over 130,000 visitors
the Comic-Con?
and makes well over $162 million in regional sales per year. And
Damn.
those numbers only continue to grow. Another genre that has in recent history become a worldwide phenomenon is fantasy. If you saw a person dressed as a wizard prior to Harry Potter's release, you either thought that individual was a nerd or homeless. Now everyone loves the idea of being a wizard. It's not just role players from Dungeons and Dragons anymore. Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter captured the imaginations of millions upon millions of people, and they can't get enough of it. The best thing of all is how neutral it is. You will find both males and females of any age group enjoying the fantasy genre and not having to worry about mass ridicule. Overall, these examples prove that society and its feelings towards certain groups can change. The stereotype that once followed geeks and nerds has lost momentum thanks to the positive framing of the mainstream spotlight. Of course, there is a difference between being a, oh, I watched that movie once, it was good, kind of fan, and I just bought this Wookiee costume, and I'm taking it off in 3 weeks, kind of fan. But the point is, the average Joe is much more accepting today of those types of fans than they were in the past. That is because they have found some common ground in a shared medium, which, for the most part, has been movies. Out of the top grossing films of all time, the majority of them fall under the geek banner. Yet, are Bronies capable of these levels of change?
I remember that place. It's
That
at the
remains to be
BronyCon.
seen.
It's
The odds are
Baltimore.
stacked against them. They do not have the luxury of having a blockbuster film sway the opinions of the mass public. And as I stated before, Bronies carry a highly unappealing stereotype. But through charities and positive imaging, My Little Pony fans at least stand a chance of convincing some people that there's more to their group than meets the eye. These other groups of fans prove that changing the way society views them is not impossible and can be done. A lot has happened since My Little Pony Friendship is Magic first arrived in late 2010, and I am sure that most of it was never anticipated. But one must wonder what the future holds for this show and its curious fandom. For Hasbro, the corporation who owns the MLP franchise, they couldn't be happier. They have seen a rise in profits and don't intend to end this gravy train any day.
They make money, they are happy.
As a matter of fact, they just announced a second Friendship is Magic movie and a 5th season of the show. But where will the franchise be in 20 years? Will the Brony fandom still be around for it? Or will it have ended by then?
When the show ends, I think one of the things I'm actually looking forward to when the show ends is to see how the community responds. Because with all the creative people we have in this fandom, I imagine this is going to be around plenty of years after the show ends.
When the show ends, it will be a dark day, but it will not be the end.
Eat a lot of ice cream, I think. Cry a little, but then, hey, I have ice cream. Then I'll eat the ice cream again. When there's no ice cream, I'll cry.
I'd rather see it end in 4 seasons that are amazing than have it keep going and just gradually decline in quality, because then like it'll sour.
There's gonna be a movie
franchise as
apparently
whole.
in 2007.
You know, not that I think that
17
writers and the staff that are working on it right now would
of Pony. So
The fan base is
apparently,
still as strong as it was,
not
or currently
finished.
is, in about 48 years when it's finished. No. But when it reaches its peak in season 7, as The Simpsons did, people are always like, "Oh, it's gonna go downhill." No, there have been shows that like didn't reach their peak until many seasons in. First thing I'll probably do is be a terrible person and say, "Told you so." People don't believe me that the show is going to end, that the fandom will probably end, but I think it will. I think this part of the reason I'm here is because I really feel like we're hitting a high point, and that it could be downhill from here. And I want to be here for these high, great moments. But I mean, I'm ready to be wrong. I would love to be wrong.
See, I've gone through this before. Like, for instance, I'm a huge fan of the show Dragon Ball Z, and that ended years ago. But it's still, like, they have Dragon Ball Z Kai and all that stuff. But the show was pretty much dead and gone. But that show influenced me so much that I still watch reruns of it every day of the week. I just watch every little thing I can of it. I work out to it. Same thing with MLP. I'll be in the gym like, My Little Pony. Used to wonder what friendship would be, son.
It's not going to last forever. In reality, we're probably looking at, I hope, 4 or 5 seasons. What am I going to do? Well, I'm going to continue writing. I'm going to continue composing. I'm going to continue creating. I don't think that just because the show ends, that the spirit of this Brony community is going to die out. I think that it's going to be sustained by,
I think that
by what we have all taken from it. So, what am I going to do when the show ends? Business as usual.
And now we come to the end of our story. From a simple plastic toy to an online sensation, My Little Pony has had quite the journey, and it has touched many lives along the way. The events that unfolded were that of chance,
Can I
timing,
disagree?
and dedication. If it wasn't for the efforts of Lauren Faust and her team, none of this would have been possible. This passionate group of artists were able to provide a quality cartoon that any person of any age could enjoy. Because of them, a community was forged, And it has been those fans who have truly reaped the rewards.
It's a lot of fun. You can tell we have fun online. The interactions are great. I've met a lot of people, made a lot of friends throughout this community.
It's a cluster, but a lovable one at that. And as people need to get off their high horses, myself included. And that being said, most of us are pleasant people. Most of us are pretty chill. It's a community.
Yeah, I gotta agree.
We don't use that term lightly. We're bronies. We're bros. We put the bro in brony, and there's a reason for that.
We've had our own glut of mini controversies. But that said, this is the most tight-knit, loving, generous, talented group of people you could ever hope to meet.
Through acts of charity and positive imaging, Bronies have shown that they can make a positive impact on the world, despite what mainstream media says about them.
So many people's lives have been changed by the fandom, including mine. Mine has totally taken a upside down turn. I think we'll only continue to
For me
do
personally,
that
it
more and
was
more.
not the fandom that
will,
changed me,
have
but it
fundraisers
had
for
a
charities. We'll be recognized by more
big
and more
part
people.
through
And I
that
think eventually,
that
while
way
there
of
will
changing
always
them.
be haters, people will come to know us as a positive influence on the world.
But that's for me
And
personally.
I think that's what the Brony community is. We are a positive influence in a very dark world.
One word would just be passion, passionate. I think it takes passion to be a brony, just because there is that such a backlash against it. And if you're just into it because my friends are doing it, or it's kind of cool on the internet, I don't think it'll stick, just because there is going to be that friction against it. I think you got to love the show, you got to love the ideas, and you just you got to be open to, I guess, the whole community idea of just being a positive and upbeat and happy, and not succumbing to the cynicism and the negativity that just is prevalent throughout the news and the media and everything. Trying to remind you, everything's bad. No, everything's great. You just got to look at it from the right way. And that shows the show is something that really reminded me about that. You're like, the world's great. People are great, and you can listen to those people who are saying everything's bad. People are dying, people are sick, and the world's gonna end. Or you can say, you know what? Things are awesome. People are great. There's a lot of creative people out there doing awesome things. Both at Hasbro, at Hub, at DHX, and on the community side, we're doing amazing things together.
No, children of the night,
that, that's what being a human being is about, just expressing yourself, being creative, and just kind of enjoying the one life you have. That's something that the communities remind me of, it's something the show reminded me of, and I think that's what this is all about, just that passion and that desire to just be happy.
The community really fascinates me because I feel like part of the reason it's so explosive is because we're sort of reacting to internet culture. The whole thing started on the internet, and the internet's a very gender normative place. You're assumed heterosexual single white guy until proven otherwise online. I mean, tits or GTFO isn't just a saying, it's a mantra. It's sort of the way of the internet. And then when you want to dive into something like My Little Pony, you kind of you have to sort of announce your manliness, and you have to sort of announce who you are if you want to be able to count yourself as a part of it. So in that sense, it really comes as no surprise that you have all these dudes from the internet that are just embracing this, because in order to be part of this, you have to sort of say, no, I'm an individual. You have to prove who you are to say you like it, as opposed to everywhere else on the internet where you can just sort of quietly fit in, and even if you are cool and special, nobody notices. So I mean, I think that's the coolest part about the community, is that we all have to have a voice in order to prove that we're worthy of being here. There's a reason everyone's anonymous. And when you're anonymous, everyone just sort of becomes this din of nothing. When it's a pony fandom, you can't be just an anonymous dude liking a pony show. You have to sort of you have to prove that you're not just some random creeper on the internet. You're saying, no, I'm really honestly a normal person, and I'm embracing this. And gender normativity is what the real, that's the wall we're going up against here. We're trying to prove that you don't have to be, that categories and rules don't have to be specific and laid out for you and planned in order for this to work.
I don't know. For me,
weirdos.
I don't care what people think.
Maybe
I don't
they
have
need
to
to
prove
settle down a
anything to
little bit.
anyone.
I don't think that it's wrong
I
to
am
like
who I am.
My Little Pony. Of course it's not.
I embrace
I don't think
my
that's
weird stuff that I
creepy
like.
and weird.
Even though I don't consider
they
My Little Pony
need
weird
to
anymore,
kind of
but
realize
I used to.
the ludicrousness of it all. I don't know. They're all so nice. They're super nice people. I don't understand why they get bullied. I really don't. I guess people just are threatened by things they don't understand.
And it seems like a lot of people don't understand it. I'm not entirely sure I understand it. And it seems like ever since the whole thing started, a lot of people have been demanding an explanation. And what they don't realize is there's never going to be an explanation that's sufficient enough. That's never going to happen. You can have these bronies saying all day long, well, the storylines are really good, and the music's really good, and the acting's really good, and the animation's really good. But if you're not a brony, all that's just going to sound like dumb excuses, and it's not going to resonate with you. So there's no real explanation that's sufficient at all, and I don't think there ever will be. Maybe people, you know, maybe they can just learn to say, well, some people like ponies, some people don't. And it should just be that simple.
The best thing that I can say about bronies in general is that, you know, for me, it taught me a lot about, you know, my perceptions of, you know, what should be deemed acceptable, and, you know, what is normal in general. And, you know, through my experience, you know, creating music and talking with people and talking with other musicians and watching the show and seeing how it brings people together, I mean, it's one of the most humbling things I've ever been a part of. I mean, we're talking about some 4 months ago, you know, there were 1,000 people joining together in Manhattan for a convention, and now 4 months later we're looking at 4,000 people, like-minded, you know, and I think that you know, that's something really powerful, and that's something we need. You know, we need those connections, and I think if it means connecting through, you know, one's affinity for excellent storytelling, great writing, great animation, pastel-colored ponies, well, by God, I say, why the hell not?
Will bronies be important in the grand scheme? Most likely not. They are a small part of a bigger picture. But for many of these individuals, it has changed their lives for the better. Eyes have been opened, inner talents discovered, laughter shared, and lifelong friendships born. Those will be the things that truly stand the test of time. For when one puts aside assumptions, they may discover that there is more to people than meets the eye.
What can I cannot disagree with what he said. Seriously, I think I could not say better than he did. You know. Brony. Hell yeah! Man, this is awesome. That was awesome. Freaking awesome. It's not finished? Credit? $20% cooler. Oh man, that was awesome. That was awesome. I'll say I'll try to see if there's something hidden, because I think there's maybe for two minutes more. Anyway, yeah, that was awesome. I don't know. I feel like every time I see that kind of stuff is like, ugh! Even though the only thing that I don't really relate with really because of my own experience is really that My Pony changed their life, and I've been witness of people where it really does, you know, and I'm happy for those who help My Pony and the fandom help them. But for me personally, how I became a Brony was because I've changed a lot of stuff in my life. You know, I started to change my focus and try and realize stuff about myself. So yeah, so this is how I discovered My Pony, because I instead of being judgmental toward people, I decided to do what I want that people do for me. I wanted to do it for them first, you know, and just have an open mind, because I was trying. Long story. I know. I'm sorry. Maybe I don't express myself as good as I want to, but my point is, I've changed a lot of stuff in my life before becoming a Brony, and it's with those changes that brought me to become a Brony, you know. So, but I can. That's why I see the Brony fandom in My Pony. How I enjoy My Pony. Being a Brony, being more part of an extension of myself, as instead of something that defines me at its core, you know. Like they said earlier, if the show stops, I know that the fandom will continue, but I don't know how life will bring me, and maybe I'll be like, okay, I'll move on to something else. But I would not regret the time I spent with doing what I like, discovering My Pony, enjoy it, and discover you guys. You know, there's just so much good thing about that show, you know. So yeah. But this is what I wanted to say, pretty much. I don't know if I expressed myself very well right now. I'm sorry, I'm not very clear because of my French and because I'm French and stuff. And even when I'm talking French, I have problem to express myself. That's always been, at least with my words, that's always been a problem with me. But it's still something that I'm working on myself, you know. Running ponies are awesome. Anyway, that was awesome. I learned today. I've seen an interesting thing, interesting way of thinking. It's true. I mean, it's just awesome. I mean, we can focus on the bad stuff, the bad parts and stuff, like most of haters do, but when you look at the bright side of it, it's like someone, you know. I used to be really judgmental and wait a sec. It's finished. Thanks you for watching. That was a pleasure, dude. That was a pleasure. Anyway, I forgot what I was about to say, so oh, anyway, that was awesome. I really enjoyed it, man, and that make me wish to talk a lot more with you guys. You know, communicate far more. I just want to say, by the way, that I'm sorry, guys, if I don't answer to your comments often or talk a lot. You know. Often I want to, but the thing you gotta understand with me is I'm like Fluttershy, you know. I have a background of being shy and always been rejected. So doing social stuff, it's just it just take me a lot of energy. Now I'm capable of doing it, like I was in BronyCon and stuff. I like to talk with you guys, but it's just that sometimes it takes me so much energy to do this, you know, more than most of people, you know. So when I'm tired after a day of work or whatever, even if I want to, it just I feel just so tired that I don't know if I will say the you know, it just takes me a lot of energy. I'm sorry to talk about that right now. I just wanted to mention that. I'm sorry. It's been on my mind a long time. I really want to talk a lot with you, a lot more with you guys, communicate with you, sharing my thought, and that you can share your thought with me and stuff. It's just that you know, it just takes me a lot of energy sometimes, you know. So I'm really sorry about that. But I still want you know to know, guys, that I love you. I love you guys. You are so freaking awesome. And the Brony fandom is awesome. So yeah. I talk a lot. I talk about serious stuff a lot today. Anyway, I will end the video here because, yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to say. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this as I did. Thanks for watching and see you next time.